Well, who would have thunk it? On the play when the Dodgers finally got a hit with the runner on base, the game ended on a base running blunder. Let's get into the postcast.
You are Locked On Dodgers Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Los Angeles on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey, Dodger fans, welcome to the Locked On Dodgers Postcast. I am your guest host, Jeff Snyder, with my fifth of six guest hosting episodes with you tomorrow for the series finale against the Rangers, filling in for Pete Fox. This is the postcast for the Locked On Dodgers podcast. This is brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. From brakes to exhaust kits and beyond, eBay Motors has over 122 million parts to keep your ride or die alive. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to bring home that big win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay guaranteed fit. Only available to U.S. customers. So this was a frustrating way to end a frustrating game. The Dodgers struggled with runners on base tonight. Shohei Ohtani hit a home run in the first inning. The Dodgers never did get a hit with runners on base until the last play of the game. And the 1-0, the home run from Ohtani looked like it might hold up for a while, but unfortunately Walker Buehler made a really bad pitch after getting to a bad count against Corey Seager. Seager had a 3-run homer. And, that was it. Dodgers ended up scoring 1 run in the bottom of the 9th. And Andy Pages ran through a stop sign. So it's first and second. I assume you all were watching, but I'll lay it out for those of you who are listening to this postcast later and weren't just watching the game. First and second, 2 outs. I believe there's 2 outs. Jason Hayward at the plate, and he rips a base hit to right center field that Leody Taveras, the Rangers center fielder, bobbled a little bit. Will Smith scored easily from second. Andy Pages got the stop sign from Dino Ebel at third base. Andy Pages ignored the stop sign. He got the stop sign so much that Joe Davis even said Pages stopped at third, and then he had to correct himself. Oh, he ran through it. And Pages got thrown out by a few feet at home plate to end the game. Instead of letting new Dodger Cavan Biggio come up with 2 runners in scoring position with a chance to tie and or win the game with a base hit. We'll have to see. One of the downsides of doing this episode immediately after the game ends is we haven't heard yet from Dave Roberts or from Andy Pages or from anybody else about that play. I saw somebody ask the question, Tim G, did he not see the stop sign or did he see it and ignore it? The base runner is supposed to look, though. Yeah, he saw the stop sign. If he didn't see the stop sign, that's a bigger problem, honestly. Running through the stop sign is a problem that's easy to fix. You say, hey, don't run through the stop sign. If he didn't see the stop sign, that's indicative of a much bigger problem. So yeah, he saw the stop sign. Every baseball player sees the stop sign. What he thought was, I'm fast, and the center fielder bobbled the ball, and so Dino Ebel's wrong. That's basically the thought process. He thought, I can score on this, so I'm going to go score. And it didn't work out. Nando says Pages should be benched for that. I don't. Michael Carrillo agrees. Not the first time Nando and Michael Carrillo have agreed on stuff, huh? But yeah, I don't disagree, other than the fact that I was thinking about during this game, the Dodgers bench in this game, when you think about it, the 4 guys they had on the bench, Taylor, Kike, Barnes, and Rojas. When Miguel Rojas is your best hitter on the bench, like that shows you that even with the acquisition of Cavan Biggio, Vince and I are going to talk more on the podcast as soon as I'm done here about the trade for Biggio. We won't dig into that too much here. We're more recapping the game. We will mention Biggio a time or two, but with that acquisition, the starting lineup was a little better, although it didn't look like it tonight. They only scored 1 run a night after scoring 15. No, they scored 2 runs. The bench is pretty weak. And so the idea of benching Pages, that means playing Chris Taylor or Kike Hernandez. I guess Cavan Biggio could play right field and put Hayward in center and then, put Rojas at third base. So yeah, I mean, you could put Rojas in, which is a little better. Either way, I mean, it's downgrading the team. And so you have to balance things out a little bit. Like, yes, Pages deserves to be benched, but also you have to weigh out what's best for the team today and long term. And that might be benching Pages. Maybe he does need to be benched. I don't think, and that's what Michael says. Benching players teaches them a lesson. Pages needs to learn. I don't disagree with that point. Having been a parent for 20 years, I think parenting is a lot like coaching rookies, and sometimes benching is the right answer. I don't know enough about the dynamics with Andy Pages and Dave Roberts and all that to know for sure if benching is the right answer in this situation. It's definitely not unwarranted. The only reason not to bench him would be if, the point of benching is for him to learn and not make that mistake again. And so if they decide there's a better way to teach that lesson, or even, like it seems like an easy way out to just say, oh, if Pages says, I'm sorry, I won't do it again. But the fact is, if you believe that he's not going to run through a stop sign again, then benching him doesn't actually serve a purpose. It is the first time he's done this. He's had not even really other base running issues, mostly just sliding issues. But this is the first time. And I don't know. I mean, I remember back in, when was it? Might have been 2017, Bellinger's rookie year. I know it was when Bellinger was young, and I forget what it was. There was a double that he hit that people thought should have been a triple. And people were crying for Bellinger to be benched. And Roberts talked about it. And, even the messaging was different. I think Bellinger did get benched for a game or two. And one person was saying this is to nip this in the bud. And another person was saying this is accumulation of things. And well, which is it? Are you nipping it in the bud, or is it accumulation? And so, we'll see if Pages is benched tomorrow. It wouldn't surprise me at all, and I won't be upset if he is. I don't know enough about that dynamic to declare yes, he should be benched, is what I'm getting at, because again, the point of benching is to learn the lesson. If he can learn the lesson some other way, the Dodgers are a better team with him in the lineup probably. And so, that's the balance they have to weigh. In the end, Dodgers end up losing 3-2. Frustratingly, one of the runs was unearned because new Dodger Kevin Biggio made an error. So one of the two guys who was on base when Corey Seager hit his 3-run homer was only on because of an error. So without that error, then that hit would have tied the game anyway. Pages probably doesn't run through the stop sign if they've already tied the game and he's representing the winning run. Who knows? But errors happen. But we will dig more into that when we come back about the Kevin Biggio's debut with the Dodgers. Had its ups and downs. Talk more about Walker Buehler's night. It was, not great, not terrible. So we'll dig into that. It's a lot more. So thanks for being with me on the postcast, and I will be right back. This episode is brought to you by Tax Network USA. Here on Locked On Dodgers, we pride ourselves on getting you the latest news for your team, whether it's the offseason, the draft, spring training, or the playoffs. It's year-round. You know what else is year-round? Collection season. Just because tax season's over doesn't mean the IRS will stop coming after you for unfiled taxes. The IRS can garnish your wages, levy your bank accounts, and even seize your property. Don't let the IRS target you. Let the licensed professionals and tax experts at Tax Network USA go to bat for... Sorry, guys, I messed that up. I hit the wrong button. Let me try that again. I'm going to... Did I hit the... Here we go. All right. This episode is brought to you by Tax Network USA. Here on Locked On Dodgers, we pride ourselves on getting you the latest news for your team, whether it's the offseason, the draft, spring training, or the playoffs. It's year-round. You know what else is year-round? Collection season. Just because tax season is over doesn't mean the IRS will stop coming after you for unfiled taxes. The IRS can garnish your wages, levy your bank accounts, and even seize your property. Don't let the IRS target you. Let the licensed professionals and tax experts at Tax Network USA go to bat for you. I am doing this podcast an independent contractor, and so taxes are a little bit complicated. I definitely need tax experts in my life. And with over 14 years of experience and an A+ rating by the Better Business Bureau, Tax Network USA has saved their clients $1 billion in tax debt. Whether you owe taxes, have complicated matters that require tax planning, or finally hit that parlay this season and need help correctly filing, call 1-800-549-1000 or visit tnusa.com/lockedon. See the link in the episode description below. This episode is also brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 3 million members. It's the easiest and most exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. You just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats and watch the winnings roll in. With Prize Picks, you could turn $10 into $1,000 in a single game watching your favorite sports this summer. You can make a Prize Picks lineup in as little as 60 seconds. You just need to pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you're locked in. Prize Picks is the best way to get action on sports in more than 30 states across the country, including California, Texas, and Georgia. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what make Prize Picks the #1 fantasy sports app. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's promo code LOCKEDONMLB in the Prize Picks app for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Hey, I am back. Sorry about those technical difficulties in the ad break, but thank you for being here with me on the postcast. Just FYI, I am Jeff Snyder. I am filling in for Pete Fox. I normally co-host the Locked On Dodgers podcast, which I am continuing to do. Vince and I will be live shortly after we're done here over on the Locked On Dodgers YouTube channel. You can catch this postcast after nearly every Dodger game on the Locked On Sports Los Angeles YouTube channel and or on the Locked On Dodgers podcast feed. So thank you for being here with us. I'm just looking into the chat to see if I missed anything during the ad break. Tim G says, I'm not sure he necessarily needs to be benched. He probably feels terrible about it. He does need to be spoken to, maybe apologize to his teammates. Yeah. And that's kind of the point I was making, that, I mean, really what Dave Roberts needs to determine is this a problem that needs a benching? It was a bad play, and he needs to understand that he needs to stop when the third base coach says stop. BC says Pages knew Biggio was up, so he thought if he didn't score, they lose anyway. Well, Biggio had a hit and also had a 105-mile-an-hour line drive right at the right fielder earlier in the game, and so the chances of winning are better if he doesn't get thrown out at home to end the game. Funny that earlier in the episode, I couldn't remember for sure if there were 2 outs on that play. Remember? Pages made the 3rd out to end the game, Jeff. Come on, dummy. I kind of jokingly, when Andy Pages had his walk-off hit earlier this season, I joked that the reason he swung at so many pitches out of the zone in that at bat is because he knew that Taylor and Kike were coming up after him. And so if he didn't get the job done, nobody was going to. I don't know if I actually believe that. In this case, that definitely wasn't what he was thinking with Biggio. This was simply a case of him thinking, I run fast, I can score. And he needs to, he needs to listen to his base coach. I'm just looking, rookies going to do rookie mistakes. This is where the veterans make Pages pay for dinner and drinks and roast him. That's probably, there's so many different solutions for this. We'll see if BC says he doesn't steal much. Don't know why he think he's that fast. If you look at sprint speed leaderboards, he is one of the fastest guys on the team. He's roughly Chris Taylor speed. Andy Pages is very fast. He doesn't steal a lot of bases, partly because he's not on base a ton with in stolen base opportunities, and also just some guys aren't base stealers. Pages is fast, just not quite. Let's see. BC says Gavin Lux must be the fastest. Let me pull it up. Sprint speed leaderboard. And we will see right now who is the fastest on the Dodgers. We want team Dodgers update. James Outman, who's not currently on the roster, is the fastest. Andy Pages is the fastest guy currently on the Dodgers roster, 28.5 feet per second. followed by Teoscar at 28.3, Shohei at 28.1, Chris Taylor at 27.8. So yeah, Lux is currently at 27.0. He's not as fast this year coming back from his knee injury. Lux was fast in the past and probably will be again, but not currently. Yeah, Mr. Seabad says Pahez is definitely not getting a cookie dough shake from Taco Amigo. No, sir. That is correct. Although I wouldn't mind if he wants to come visit me. I might even buy him a shake if he wants to come visit me. But first of all, he needs to learn to listen to Dino Ebel. Let's talk about Walker Buehler. He started this game. Wasn't great, wasn't terrible. I mean, he the only runs he gave up was the second to last batter he faced. He gave up a 3-run homer to Corey Seager. His command wasn't great throughout the game. And part of the reason he gave up the home run to Seager is because he got himself into a bad count and had to, I mean, he was worried about walking Seager to load the bases, and he ended up making too good of a pitch, challenged him with a fastball. Getting into counts where you have to throw a fastball is a dangerous thing to do to Corey Seager. Seager is notoriously impatient as a hitter, but he also has a really good eye, and he can take a walk when he needs to. He just, Seager's just a great hitter, honestly. And so once you get into a 3-ball count, you can't give in to Seager. Obviously you'd rather have him walk Seager to load the bases than give up a 3-run homer. And it's not as cut and dry as if I throw a fastball here, Seager's going to hit a home run. But when you throw a fastball and you're worried about walking him, you run the risk of throwing a fastball in a really bad spot, which is what he did. And ultimately that ended up being the difference in the game. And, so Buehler went 5 innings, allowed 2 earned runs, 3 runs overall, and frustrating. One of the things that Vince and I are going to get into on the podcast in a few minutes, as soon as we're done here, is Buehler's struggles this year against left-handed hitters in particular. And we're going to dig into that because even before Seager's home run, Buehler's performance against lefties this year is probably, for me, my main concern about him, and the main thing that he needs to figure out, because in his career, he's been solid against lefties. In fact, very good against lefties. Hardly any platoon split at all. Basically the same pitcher against righties and lefties. That's not the case this year. And so whether it's a repertoire thing, a confidence thing, a command thing, I don't really know, but we're going to dig into more of that on the podcast. And beyond that, yeah, I mean, the Dodgers bullpen did their job. Yohan Ramirez pitched a scoreless inning. Who else? I know Blake Trinan and Daniel Hudson both pitched. I assume there was one more pitcher that I'm forgetting, because Buehler went 5 innings. Somebody tell me who the other pitchers that I'm forgetting. I know that all 4 innings were scoreless and mostly hitless, like very few base runners. I know that Trinan had a pop-up to Teoscar Hernandez that ended up as a base runner because Hernandez just blopped the ball. I said Yohan Ramirez, Tim. Ramirez, Hudson, and Trinan are the 3 I can remember. I don't have the box score up right here. I should probably, but anyway, somebody will tell me. Oh, that's right. Anthony Bonda. Thank you, Craig. All I needed was the hint. Left-handed. Anthony Bonda pitched again. Yeah. Bullpen was great. And honestly, even Buehler's outing, and obviously if the Dodgers score 15 runs here, we're talking about, hey, Buehler, good game. Just that one bad pitch to Seager, good game. And it wasn't, our impression of how a pitcher's game goes can often be colored by how the offense does. And realistically, the story of this game wasn't so much Buehler. And like I said, Vince and I are going to dig into Buehler a little bit more on the podcast. It might be me for the first part of the podcast. I just got a text from Vince that he is running late getting home from dinner. So it might just be me for part of it. And then hopefully he'll hop in with me. We'll talk more about Buehler and his overall performance and stuff. But really, I mean, the story of this game is that the Dodgers only scored 2 runs, only had 1 hit with runners on base. So we're going to come back in a minute. We're going to dig into more of that, where the offense fell short here on this game. So again, thanks for being with me, and I will be right back on the postcast. This episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit. Only available to U.S. customers. Hey, I'm back. Thanks again for being with me on the Locked On Dodgers postcast. I am Jeff Snyder, host of the Locked On Dodgers podcast, filling in for Pete Fox here on the postcast. One other thing I wanted to talk about with Walker Buehler is the fact that Dave Roberts left him in to face Corey Seager in that situation. I think it's pretty safe to say that if this game mattered, if the Dodgers were fighting for the division, if it was the postseason, whatever it is, Buehler wouldn't have faced Seager in that situation. When you have Alex Vesia in the bullpen, I mean, that's basically a situation that is tailor-made for Alex Vesia. I think what we saw here was that there's a bigger picture, a longer plan with Walker Buehler. And that plan is to figure out what he is by the time the postseason rolls around. And like I said, Vince and I are going to talk about Buehler's struggles against left-handed hitters on the podcast. That's part of what they have to figure out. And you're not going to figure out how to pitch to left-handed hitters by not pitching to left-handed hitters. And the fact is, he had gotten Corey Seager out earlier in the game. He had also walked him. It wasn't a foregone conclusion he was going to give up that home run, but it was definitely a case where, Orel Hershiser said that Buehler's resume earned the chance to face Seager here. I don't really think that's quite right. I think it was Buehler's coming back from injury. We need to figure out what he is before October rolls around so that we know if we can pitch him in the postseason. And so that was why he faced Seager there. Let's dig into the offense a little bit. Michael Carrillo says losing to a team's bullpen game is embarrassing. Wasn't really a bullpen game. I mean, John Gray has been their best starter this year. He was just on a pitch count because of coming off an injury. And the fact is, the offense did a good job getting his pitch count up. They just couldn't capitalize with runners on base. They did a good job getting guys on base and getting deep into counts and everything. The problem was when they brought in that lefty, Latz, I think was his name, letting that guy go 3 innings or whatever he did was the big problem. That took away all the advantage of getting the starter out after 3 innings, letting the first reliever throw 3 innings. Because then it's basically, hey, now it's just a regular game. We got 6 innings. Now we can go to our 1 inning relievers. And, again, this isn't really, I've talked a lot on the podcast about the idea of cluster luck, where basically sometimes you get hits, you get a bunch of hits, but they're not in a row. And other times you get a bunch of hits in a row. And so at the end of the day, that's why you can sometimes have 8 hits and 7 runs. And other times you have 8 hits and 1 run, because it's all about when you get the hits. And there's not really any rhyme or reason. It's not like, sometimes there is. There have been times this season where the Dodgers' struggles with runners in scoring position were because it was bad hitters getting the at-bats with runners in scoring position. Chris Taylor has had way too high a percentage of his at-bats this year be with runners in scoring position for a guy who can't hit. That's a big part of the problem. But here tonight, it's not like there was any bad hitters in the lineup tonight. Obviously there's guys who there are still question marks around, but the bad hitters were on the bench. Chris Taylor, Austin Barnes, Kike Hernandez, those guys were on the bench. It was simply a fact that they didn't get the hits. And that is a very unsatisfying answer, because we want there to be a reason. We want it to be a question of will or a question of wanting it more. But the fact is, wanting it is only a tiny part of the equation, and one that almost every Major League Baseball player has equally. Everybody wants it. It comes down to execution. And the pitchers, people got mad at Mookie Betts a year or two ago in the postseason when he said, well, they drive nice cars too, which the point was, all these guys we're going up against are really good players. They made the major leagues. They're good players. They're doing their best too. And sometimes the pitcher wins. And that's basically what we saw tonight, was that in situations with runners on base, the pitchers won. And it's not like it was a ton of runners in scoring position either. The Dodgers didn't have a ton of scoring chances. They just scattered, they had a handful of hits. They had some walks. They had some base runners, but didn't really ever get the momentum going. And to the extent that momentum is a thing, momentum is usually just in hindsight. Hey, look, they had good momentum just now when they scored a bunch of runs. It was, Craig mentions Will Smith hit one really well in the first inning that almost got out. At least could have been an RBI double. Yeah, there were a lot of things like that. Shohei Ohtani hit a hard line drive, 113 miles an hour, that almost got over Garcia's head in right field. He didn't. I mentioned Kevin Biggio hit that ball 105 miles an hour right at Garcia in right field. There were some chances and game of inches, balls that might have thrown it. Even that last play of the game, Tavares kicks the ball 10 feet away from him instead of 5 feet away. Pages scores. There's little things that come up in a baseball game. And so that's why, I never use the word embarrassing when I'm talking about something I didn't do. I physically cannot be embarrassed by the way a bunch of people I don't know play baseball. It was just one of those games. And in baseball, that's why they play 162 games, because even the best teams are going to lose 50 or 60 of those games. And you can look at one individual game and say, oh, how did we lose that one? Well, it's just one of the 50 or 60. And probably this year it's going to be about 60 that the Dodgers are going to lose. And you know what? That still makes them one of the best teams in baseball, gives them a very good chance. All of this is, it's part of why I love the regular season, because there are the ups and downs. I remember in 2017, sorry, BC, the word they use nowadays is cringe. Oh, I have 3 teenagers. I know about cringe. They know about cringe because they have me for a dad. Back in 2017, you remember the Dodgers went 44-7 over that 51 game stretch in 2017. During that stretch, they only lost back-to-back games 2 times. And guess what? Those were the 4 games I was at. They lost back-to-back games on June 5th and 6th, or 4th and 5th. I know June 5th was one of them, against the Nationals. And they lost back-to-back games on July 21st and 22nd against the Braves. Pretty sure July 22nd was the second game of those ones. I went to 4 games out of those 51. The Dodgers went 44-3 when I wasn't there, and 0-4 when I was. It's just weirdness of baseball. It's just, it doesn't mean anything. Didn't mean anything then. I was there when Alex Wood got his first loss of the season because he gave up a grand slam to the opposing pitcher. There was just a bunch of dumb stuff, even though overall the stretch was really good. And this Dodger team has the potential to go on a run like that. I hope they will. I don't know if, as it's constructed right now, they could quite go 44-7, but they could definitely go on a run. The 15 runs last night wasn't, crazy. It wasn't crazy it's not like everybody overperformed. It was just, hey, look, a bunch of good hitters getting a bunch of good hits, and that could happen again. So yeah, this game, Tim says, I'm already over losing this one. It's like you say, even good teams will lose 60 games. This is one of them. We'll get them tomorrow. That's definitely the most healthy approach to take to this. BC says, if you go 99-63, someone else went 162, you're out. No, not anymore, because Major League Baseball lets everybody make the playoffs these days. Going 99-63, there will never again be a team that wins 99 games in the regular season and doesn't make the postseason. And that's the thing. The Dodgers are not at risk of not making the postseason. They are going to make the postseason. Most likely they're going to win the division by a healthy margin. And so if they can learn lessons right now, honestly, if we had a choice, hey, would you rather have Andy Pages lose a game because he ran a stop sign on June 12th or on October 12th? Obviously, we'd all choose June 12th, right? it's not quite that easy, but these are lessons. I mentioned Walker Buehler. We're figuring out what he has for October. Andy Paez, learning these lessons in June, much better than learning them in October. And whether that means a benching or getting, hassled by his teammates, whatever it is, he's going to learn that lesson. And chances are he's not going to run a stop sign again in a situation like that. I wouldn't say he's never going to make a dumb base running mistake again. That happens with everybody, especially young, exuberant players. But I don't think this particular thing is going to happen to him again because he will learn the lesson. So all of this, it is the Dodgers. Oh, Craig asks, is Yamamoto pitching tomorrow? No, we're going to dig into that on the podcast. The Dodgers pushed Yamamoto back a few days. When I started recording, I hadn't seen anything about what the Dodgers pitching plan is for tomorrow's game. That's another thing that's part of the challenge of doing an episode right after the game. So between when I wrap up here in a second and when I start the podcast in just a minute, I am going to scroll Twitter real quick, see if we know what the plan is for tomorrow. As of right now, it is TBD, or at least as of when I started. Tim guesses Landon Knack. I think I saw that Landon Knack pitched too recently in AAA for him to be ready. So it could be a straight bullpen game. It could, not really sure what they're going to do, but we shall see. So anyway, that's going to do it for me here on this one. Dodgers lose 3-2, a game that could have been won. Won't say it should have been won, but it wasn't nearly as fun as the 15-2 game the day before. But they have a chance to win the series tomorrow against the Rangers. Again, we don't know who's pitching as of right now, but as soon as I'm done here, I'm going to do a couple things, and in about 10 minutes, I'll be hopping on the Locked On Dodgers podcast over on the Locked On Dodgers YouTube channel. I'll be live there. Vince will hopefully be there with me at some point in the podcast. I don't know for sure, but go check that out. We will be talking about the Yamamoto decision to bump him back a couple days. We'll be talking more about the Kevin Biggio trade, and we'll be talking, as I said, about Buehler and his struggles against lefties specifically this year. So thanks for being with me. I appreciate you guys. It's been fun. I will be back with you after tomorrow's game. So I'll see you tomorrow.